Hey guys, so you've already done some great work with probability. Now we're going to move on to the next piece, which is called a probability model. A probability model is a specific way that we kind of format the way we share information about probabilities so that it's very consistent among all of our wonderful mathematicians. So back here, I've written down the three pieces that every probability model needs to have. Typically, we write them in this order too. That's just the generally accepted format. Every probability model has to have three things. I need you to hear me say this. This is one of those things that if I were in front of you, I'd be like, okay, it has to have how many things? And somebody would go three. And I'd be like, how many? And someone else would go three, until you're all understanding that it has to have three things. Okay? So how many does it have to have? Good. Now, the three things that have to be included are the action. And this is, what are you actually doing? Are you flipping a coin? Are you spinning a spinner? Are you rolling a die? Are you pulling a marble out of a jar? Like, there's all different things it could be, but it's like, what are you actually doing that's creating this probability? The next one is sample space. Sample space is every possible outcome. We're going to talk about that in a little bit because there are some different ways for you to think about it. But just think sample space are, what are the possible outcomes when I flip that coin, roll that die, spin that spinner, whatever. And then the last thing is, what are the probabilities for each of those outcomes? So I've drawn a lovely spinner over here. And instead of coloring it in, because I know my markers kind of glare a little funny, we've got three spots. We've got green, blue, and red. And we're going to pretend that they're all even. I did my best, but so we're going to pretend that each of these three spaces on my spinner is exactly equal. So now I'm going to walk through what's my probability model. Number one, I'm going to spin the spinner. Number two, the sample space, I list out the possibilities. Now in this case, there's green, there's red, and there's blue. Let's say two of these spaces said red and one said green. I would write red, red, green. Okay, so I'm going to list separately every possible outcome. So if you're thinking about, you've got like a bag with a bunch of marbles in it and there's 5 purple ones, you have to list purple 5 times. Okay, keep that in mind. Every possible outcome. Then when we go to write our probabilities, and this is a little bit of a review of the last activity you did, how do we write a probability? So I'm going to say the probability of me spinning green. Remember, we write capital P and then in parentheses, what's the thing that we're looking for? So the probability of spinning green, there's 1 green space out of 3, and I only write it as 1/3 in this case because all 3 of these are equal. Okay, if they weren't equal, then it wouldn't necessarily be 3 even spots. But since this spinner is divided into 3 equal pieces and 1 of them is green, the probability of spinning green is 1/3. Probability of spinning red. Again, I want to write it like this. Sorry, my parenthesis got a little away from me there. But capital P and then in parentheses, red. There's 1 red space out of my 3 equally divided spaces. So the probability of spinning red is 1/3. The probability of spinning blue is 1 out of 3 as well. So this is just a really quick overview of probability models, a reminder on how we write our probabilities. And then you are going to be working on this today in some different situations. Keep in mind that the action, you might feel kind of silly. You're like, flip a coin? Yes, that is exactly right. Okay, this one seems a bit silly, but it's what are you actually doing? Sample space here, we're just listing every possible outcome. And then probabilities, we're giving what is the chance that that outcome occurs. So that's where we get into our technical probabilities here. The other thing about probabilities for now, I want you to write them as fractions. Okay, you can write them as percents. Yes, we could write it as a decimal, but you'll notice that 1/3 here, as both a decimal and a percent, would have a repeating decimal, and we don't really want that. We want to leave it as 1/3 because as a fraction, that's the most exact answer that we can give. I am going to be giving or offering a virtual conference time over Schoology Conference every Tuesday and every Thursday at 1:30. This is by no means mandatory. It's completely optional. If you have a question, you can pop in, ask your question, and leave. You don't have to stay the whole time. If you just want to check in and say hi, I know I miss seeing you guys. I'd love, for you to stop in and just say hi and tell me what you've been up to. But that's an opportunity for us to kind of chat because sometimes it's easier to explain math in person, kind of, than over an email. Keep sending me the emails as you have questions. Unfortunately, a lot of the times when Schoology is having issues, I can't do anything about it. I know early in the week it was a pretty big Schoology issue where nothing was loading. And then I know the last few days there have been some issues more with you can get into Schoology, but then you can't open the Google Drive assignment. There's nothing I can do to fix that. It's a nationwide issue that they're working on. But I am working on some other ways that I can get assignments to you in the event that this continues to happen. So thank you for being flexible. Just know that if you ever log on and can't get to your math work, you can always do a little Mathia and then maybe in 15 minutes come back and try Schoology again. I appreciate the emails telling me Schoology is out, and I just wish I could help. There's nothing I can do about it. But know that I'm not counting anything late. So if that means you can't get to your math assignment until a day or two later because of Schoology, I get it. It's completely fine. I would just like to see you then spending a little bit of time on Mathia so that I know you're still practicing your math skills and working on that. So I hope you all have a great day. Please let me know how I can help. Hopefully this kind of clarified for you what's in your activity for today. We're really hitting this vocabulary hard so that next week we can focus on, or I guess not, in the next few days, we can really focus on some of the fun stuff where you're going to be doing experiments, you're going to be spinning spinners online, you're going to be flipping coins, collecting data, and then comparing. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.